Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to announce to you today that our long national nightmare is finally over. Because DC Comics is back! Oh my god, are they ever back? And boy, does it feel good. Oh, I missed you guys, DC. You guys should call more often. Why don't you come over to the house anymore? Hi everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and this is another episode of Comic Class, the show every single Wednesday here on this channel where we just geek out about comic books. And in case you haven't heard, DC Comics, they've been going through some rough times lately, but it looks like they are finally back. Holy cow, I am of course talking about Rebirth. Now, DC has already teased what Rebirth was going to be. They said, oh yeah, you know, we're kind of us going back to our roots. It's kind of, I'm not going to sum it all up for you guys, but I already made a video, you can click on it right there, in which I talk about the new mission statement of Rebirth and how excited I was for it, and also when they premiered all the titles for it, and I looked at that and went, okay, it looks like you're trying to get back to your basics, but did you truly learn your lesson? Did you learn what was wrong with the New 52? Did you learn why your business has not been working? Why in the past 4 years, literally every single comic book company out there, from Marvel all the way down to the smallest indies, has been booming and succeeding in business, and yet you're the only company out there that has not gone up in sales? Have you learned your lesson about that? And over the last weekend, they finally came out and they finally premiered the covers and the artwork and the pitches and the writing and art staffs of each of these new books, and yet kind of looks like they learned their lesson. Now, when Marvel relaunched their entire universe a couple months ago, I made multiple videos in which I went down the list of every single one of these books that had been announced. I gave you my feelings about, I told you which ones I was excited about, which ones I was worried about, I talked about the pitch of each of these books, I talked about the staff working on each of these books, and I'm going to do the same for DC. I'm going to make 2 videos in which I cover every single one of these books. Today, this video, the one you're watching, hi there, it is going to cover the books coming out in June and July, and the one coming out next week is going to cover all the other books. Alright, let's begin with the book that's going to kick all this off, the Rebirth one-shot, which introduces the entire point of Rebirth, what is causing this huge change, and the first thing I have to say is 80 pages for $2.99. Oh my god, holy cow. Listen, I have criticized DC a lot, and I've praised Marvel a lot, but there is one thing that I will never praise Marvel for, and that is how they price their books. Dear God, Marvel just keeps upping the price on everything. Their trades are ridiculous. And DC, I love that this entire giant relaunch is also them coming in and going, oh yeah, all our books are going to be $2.99 again. I was convinced this was them coming in and going, all our books are going to be $3.99. But the fact that everything's $2.99, including this 80-page book. 80 pages! At Marvel, that would have been $10, alright? This is incredible to me that they are that dedicated to this, that they're like, no, 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 this big thing that everybody needs to know about, it's not going to be a 7-part series. It's all going to be one issue, one giant issue, and we're going to make it affordable for everyone. That's fantastic, but here is what I am the most excited about. I talked about that video in which Jeff Johns came out and he gave us his pitch for Rebirth, why they're doing it, and I said that when you work for a big company like DC Comics, you're never allowed to come out and say, yeah, I'm sorry, we f***ed up. You're never allowed to say that. You're never allowed to say that we made a mistake, because that is a death sentence to you. You say that, you're fired. Your company is never allowed to make a mistake. However, every single thing that he was saying in there, it was a very veiled apology. It was a very veiled, yeah, we have not been DC Comics for the last couple of years. We kind of threw everything that made us work out the window. I'm sorry about that. Like, he didn't say any of that, but he was dancing around it the whole time. So I was like, I see what you're doing. Alright, this is making me excited. In the solicitations for Rebirth, Jeff Johns, quoting himself, like not trying to like just put this out there on someone else, he specifically gets right there in those solicitations and he says, it brings back what has been lost, the legacy of these characters, the love and hope of DCU. Okay, that's a freaking apology. That is him getting right out there in the front and saying, we threw out all the stuff that made us work. We lost it. He specifically says, we lost what made the DCU work. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that someone working for that big of a company actually said that. That's amazing to me. Way to go, Jeff Johns. And it also tells me he gets it. He gets what went wrong. He gets why so many people jumped ship from DC. He gets what DC lost all the time. Oh my god, I can't deal with you guys. I cannot deal with that. That's amazing to me, and that one sentence gives me more hope for this than anything they could possibly show. Although they showed some really cool stuff. But yeah, let's just keep talking about that. The thing that made DC Comics so amazing was legacy. It's that they had characters going back towards World War II, and there's this long line of legacy characters. These characters actually grew up and raised other characters and taught them, and they grew up. It was amazing to watch that. And the New 52 got rid of all that, except for Batman, because Batman sells, so they made sure to keep as many of his supporting characters in there as possible, even though some of them just didn't flat out make sense being crammed into a 5-year period. And that's the other thing that I have to bring up. In those solicitations, it also says that the future, and then in parentheses, the past of the DCU starts here. I was like, wait, I'm sorry, hold on. I thought this wasn't a full-on reboot. I didn't think that you were completely rebooting the universe again. And I know there are people out there who's like, oh god, they just did it. Why are they doing it again? I don't want them to do this all over again. Why are they going to reboot the universe again? I don't know if they are, because they said that they're not. But that solicitation really makes it sound like they are. And here's the thing. I really do get tired of all these relaunches and reboots. I do get it. I understand. But at the same time, DC needs that reboot. Because as I said, they just completely lost all the stuff that made their universe work, that made it fun, that made it the DC Comics that we love to read, and made them the company that they are. They lost it all, and then they created this new backstory in which everything happened within the span of 5 years, and there's so many things that happened within those 5 years that not only make it impossible for the stuff that we love in DC Comics to not exist, such as legacy characters, it also makes so much stuff not make sense at all. There's no way that the stuff that they are presenting in these books could all have happened within 5 years. It just doesn't work. So if they are coming in here and going, yeah, listen, we're not going to reboot it, the stuff you read still exists, but we're taking that 5 years and we're stretching it into 15. So that way we can cram in there all the stuff that worked. That way Bruce Wayne could have raised a young Dick Grayson, taught him to be Robin, and raised him up into Nightwing, rather than what we have now, where Bruce adopted Dick Grayson when he was 18. Which is not really adopting, it's more of just getting a much younger roommate. So, yeah. But okay, I'm sorry if I'm like jumping all over the place, but seriously, that solicitation has me so excited. And the other thing, the love and hope of the DCU. Yes, that was the #1 complaint that so many people had about the New 52, and the reason why so many people just didn't want to read them anymore, it's that everything now had the same tone. Everything had this tone of, no, it's the real world, and in the real world, people wouldn't like superheroes. It's like, dude, I live in the real world, and I'm reading this book right now, and I'm reading it because I like superheroes. Are you saying this book isn't for me? Oh. I'll go read Miss Marvel then. Oh. And as for them missing hope, listen, I could go on about what a downer Superman has been in the New 52, and he's supposed to be this big beacon of hope. I could go on about how gritty and kind of savage Wonder Woman has become. But I think nothing sums it up more than the fact that a few issues into the New 52, like right into the New 52, as soon as it began, they killed the Blue Lantern Corps, the embodiment of hope for the universe. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But okay, I'm sorry, I really had to geek out about that. And I know that we haven't gotten really any other information about this, but like I said, that solicitation, it just summed up to me how much hope I have for this relaunch. It just summed up to me that feeling of, oh my god, they learned their lesson. And I gotta say, looking at the rest of the books that are coming out, they seem to back that up. I'm seeing a lot of stuff in this relaunch that goes, oh, this is the correct tone. This is what you were missing. So, let's begin. First book that is coming out is Action Comics. And, okay, first off, I love the fact that Action Comics and Detective Comics are going back to their original numbering. I actually don't mind when books go back to issue 1, because to me it's like, it just makes it easier for me to recommend books to people. Like, I want to recommend Spider-Man to people, but what am I gonna do? Just go, oh yeah, read issues 532 all the way up to 605. It's like, no, but if you go, oh, read this collection, it's way easier. So I can understand why they keep going back to one, but I also understand why you guys in the audience really hate when they do that. I do get that. However, I love the fact that Action Comics and Detective Comics are going back to their original numberings, because it means that they will finally hit issue 1000, and oh my god, that's a landmark. That's going to be a huge moment when that happens, and I'm really looking forward to that. But I'm also just really looking forward to Action Comics in general, because in case you guys haven't been paying attention, there are currently two Supermen in the DC Comics universe. One is the Superman that was created in the New 52 universe, and the other one is the original Superman, the one from the old pre-52 universe. He and Lois and their child all got sucked into this big event called Convergence, which was just a big mess. You don't need to know it. But at the end of that, he ends up getting stuck in the New 52 universe. And he has had his own book, Superman, Lois, and Clark, and that book is the best Superman book out there right now. It's amazing to me that a book starring Superman trying to be secret Superman is still totally capturing all the stuff that I just loved about Clark Kent and about Lois Lane, and I'm sorry, but that's the stuff you really need to love about Superman. Not just Superman, Clark Kent as well. But alright, I've already talked about that book in other episodes, so let's just go ahead and get into the big news, which is that Action Comics is going to star that Superman. It's going to be that Superman with his wife and their kid, and what? I mean, I'm not saying what in a bad way, like how could you do that, but it's like, is this for real? Is this real life? That Superman that I loved, he's back. He's totally back. He's married to Lois Lane. They have a kid. This is amazing. That's all I was wanting. This is fantastic. And it raises a very important question, which is that they came out and they said Action Comics is going to be starring Superman from the pre-New 52 universe. They didn't say who the star of the just regular Superman book would be, but we've now seen the cover to it, and that is definitely still that same Superman along with Lois and their kid. Where's New 52 Superman? Listen, I feel really bad saying this because Jeff Johns came in and wrote a great run on that Superman, but it lasted 6 issues. And Greg Pak has done some really good stuff with him as well. I've actually really enjoyed how Greg Pak writes that Superman. Everything else in the past 4 years has been bad. That Superman has not had a good run, and there have been those brief moments. Like, you could take from the last 4 years about 12 really good panels outside of those ones and make a really nice collage that shows, oh no, this is how nice Superman is, but everything else, man, that's not the Superman I want. He's a boring Superman. He's an angry Superman. He is a downer Superman. None of the things Superman could be, and in a weird way, that Superman was the embodiment of all the problems with the New 52. He was edgier, he was angrier, he had a really depressing past, he was a downer, he had lines all over a metallic suit. Why does Superman have a metallic suit? It's dumb. I'm sorry, but it is. It misses the entire point of his suit. Anyway, I'm sorry, that's getting off on a completely different rant. But yeah, that to me just was the embodiment of all the problems with the New 52. So, is he gone? Like, when you said the love and the hope is returning, did you just erase Superman? Did you? Because I don't know how I feel about that. Because I feel bad for all the people out there who were fans of him. But if you just came in, and what you meant when you said the future and past of the DCU starts here, if you meant that you went in, erased him from existence, and had this Superman, the one we all like, as the Superman of this universe, and he's existed all this time for the past like 10, 15 years, and he married that universe's Lois Lane, and they had a kid, I'd be okay with that. sorry to all the fans of the New 52 Superman, but I'd be okay with them erasing your Superman from existence. But okay, I'm sorry. Again, I know I'm jumping all over the place in this episode, but I am excited. But anyway, the people working on this Superman is Dan Jurgens. He's going to be writing Action Comics, and Dan Jurgens was the one writing Lois and Clark, and as I said, he kind of nailed it. So keep going, man. Sounds awesome. And then in the just regular Superman book, it's Peter J. Tomasi, and Peter J. Tomasi has written some amazing stuff. I loved his Green Lantern Corps. That series was amazing. And then he wrote some great stuff on Batman and Robin. There were moments in which I thought that was the best Batman book out there. Like that and the regular Batman book were going back and forth. However, I will say every now and again he can miss the boat. Every now and again there's a couple things he puts out that I'm like, yeah, it's weird. He is either writing some of my favorite stuff out there or stuff I would rather not read. But it's like a 75-25 split on that one. For the most part, he is really darn good. And I get a feeling like that 25% is stuff that the editors are coming in and telling him to write. Like I was at a convention in which he was on the Green Lantern panel, and the moment that Jeff Johns left, someone asked him about a big crossover, and he went, guys, can we just cool it with all the crossovers and having other people's storylines get on? Can I just write the story I want to write? That told me everything I need to know about. That kind of let me know, yeah, when I don't like you, it's because someone is making me not like you. It's because someone else is telling you you have to write something that you don't want to write. So as long as he wants to write this Superman, I'm down with it, and I'm very excited. I'm only 3 books into this thing, and I'm already taking forever. I might have to make this a 3-part, but okay, let's speed this up. Next one is Aquaman. Aquaman is being written by Dan Abnett, and I've talked about Dan Abnett numerous times on this channel. He used to have his writing partner, Landing, and the two of them were amazing together. Then they split up and decided they never wanted to talk to each other again, and ever since then, they've both just kind of been okay to me. They've been alright. However, I will say Dan Abnett is currently writing Hercules over at Marvel, and I had this exact same concern when I went into that. However, Hercules is actually one of my favorite books that Marvel is putting out right now. I am absolutely loving that Hercules series. It's got this great new take on mythology in the world and how the changing times are slowly fading out the old gods, and it's just this great look at Herc as a character. He's not just this big, braggadocious, drunk hero. No, they actually get to the heart of the character. They actually show him struggling to mature and struggling to want to be better. And it's not my favorite book Marvel's putting out, but he's actually made Hercules one of my favorite characters in this relaunch. I absolutely love reading that book. So, I'm willing to give this Aquaman a chance. Also, as I said, in that Hercules series, he's doing some great stuff with mythology, and what place has more mythology than Atlantis? So, yeah, alright. Dan Abnett, I'm gonna give you a shot in this Aquaman. Okay. Next up, Scott Snyder is going to be leaving Batman, and I know a lot of people have said that Scott Snyder has had one of the best runs on Batman ever. I've really enjoyed his Batman. He's had some great moments on there, but I always felt like there was some room for improvement. I didn't think it was quite as good as everybody else was saying. Tom King is going to be taking over on that book. That book is now going to be as good as everyone said Scott Snyder's run was. Tom King is hands down the best guy to not only put on Batman, this is the best choice for a writer on a book out of any of these books in the DC relaunch. I'm saying that right now. Tom King is a guy who took Nightwing and made him a spy, which was something I didn't want to see, and he put out a book that I needed to read. That book is excellent, and here's what's so excellent about it. Not only is it a great spy thriller, but also it still captures the heart of Dick Grayson. It still shows he knows who this character is. Even if he is in a totally different situation, he holds on to what makes that character that character. And that's wonderful to hear, especially if he's going to be taking over a Batman book. But also, over on The Vision at Marvel, oh man, I know a lot of people out there who said that's the best book as soon as it came out. It took a little while for me to warm up to it, but now I've warmed up to it, it's the best book Marvel's putting out. It might be the best book on the stands. Marvel, DC, Image, anybody. The Vision series is stunning, and it's one of those books that knows how to build tension. Slowly just letting it rise until you are on the edge of your seat. And over at DC on the Vertigo line, he is putting out Sheriff of Babylon, which is this detective, kind of almost like a cop drama, but set in the war, and holy cow, he's just capturing everything. So this is a guy who can do spy stuff, war stuff, detective stuff, and let tension slowly rise. Everything I just said is Batman. I will repeat myself again, Tom King, out of every writer out there, not every writer at DC, every writer in comics, is the best guy you could have put on Batman. This instantly puts that book, I don't know if I'd say at the #1 spot, but really close to the #1 book that I want to read. Next up is Detective Comics, and Detective Comics is going to be written by James Tynion IV, which is a big no-duh. James Tynion has basically spent the last 4 years auditioning to write Batman. He's been working with Scott Snyder on the Batman Eternal series, which he was pretty good on, and pretty much every single other Scott Snyder Batman related book that Scott Snyder couldn't finish in time, he was just like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, let's let James do it. And they just throw the script at James like a Mean Joe green jersey. None of my viewers are going to be old enough to get that reference. Now, I'm a big fan of James Tynion. He's actually done a lot of horror series that I have absolutely loved. And if you're going to be writing Batman, yeah, you should throw in a hint of horror. I totally see that as being a good fit. But I am super excited for Detective Comics. And Detective Comics almost feels like this reboot was made just for me. And I'll tell you why, and I swear to you, I am not making this up. Back, like maybe 2 years ago, I got really bored one weekend, and I decided, just for funsies, I was going to write up my own DC reboot. I was like, okay, if I created the New 52, what books would I have in there? And I picked 52 books, and I went in, and once again, this was back before I had a channel. I was just doing this because I was bored and I wanted to do it for fun. But I came up not just with 52 books, but with my pitches for each book. And when I came up with the pitch for Action Comics and Detective Comics, I said, okay, those books are going to focus on these families of characters. Action Comics would focus on the Superman family, you know, like Superman, Supergirl, Superboy, all those related characters. And Detective Comics would focus on the Batman family. So Batman, Robin, Nightwing, Red Hood, Batwoman, Batgirl, all of them. I'd focus on all of them. And here's the thing. Detective Comics is doing that exact thing. The Detective Comics in this reboot is going to be focusing on Batman, Batwoman, Tim Drake, who is going to be Robin again. I can't even tell you why that is good because, oh my gosh. Listen, I love Tim Drake as Red Robin back before the pre-New 52, but they have just screwed that character over in the New 52. And seeing him back in his classic Robin costumes, like, alright, it's taking him back before what he was at in the pre-New 52, but that's kind of a good thing because you do need to rebuild that character all over again, so it gives me hope. I mean, for crying out loud, this shows how little thought went into the New 52 when people said, wait a minute, so Batman's only been around for 5 years, but he's had 4 different Robins? They panicked and they said, no, he's only had 3 Robins. Tim Drake was Red Robin the whole time. Like, that wasn't the problem. Okay, sorry, side rant over, but this book is going to be Batman and Batwoman training the next generation of Bat heroes, training up Tim Drake, spoiler, and the new Cassandra Cain character who is going to be called Orphan. I would have preferred if they had just called her Black Bat like she was in the pre-52. Also, I don't really care for the mask. I know people are going to say, oh, that's the exact mask that she had when she was Batgirl. It is, except that it also had the ears to kind of give it a little bit more flair, and also it matched her costume back then. I don't feel it matches her New 52 costume. I would have liked if they had just given her like the Black Bat domino mask that she had. I think that would have matched this new costume of hers a lot better. I don't know, that's just me. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But it's going to be all of them, and it's going to be this big Bat family book, and I'm so excited about it. And it's also going to have Clayface in there, and they're saying, yeah, Clayface is trying to reform, so Batman and Batwoman are going to make sure that he reforms, and trying to make sure that he actually turns into a hero, and I actually love that, and I'll tell you why. Batman lives in a city overrun with crazy people, and he keeps sending them to an asylum, but no one at the asylum ever learns. No one at the asylum ever goes, oh, okay, I think I actually got help. I think I've actually overcome my issues, and I think I can actually be better. If no one in Batman's Rogues Gallery ever turns good, why bother sending them to this asylum where they're supposed to be getting better? But if you can actually take one of those villains and actually make them good, it kind of gives hope to not just Arkham Asylum, but to the entire Bat universe in general. So yeah, okay, I'm totally down with that. Next up is Flash, and this is a weird one because Josh Williamson is writing it. Don't get me wrong, I love Josh Williamson. I think that dude is awesome. He is writing Nailbiter over at Image, which is this great crime drama set in a town full of serial killers. And he's writing Birthright, which is this big fantasy epic that's dark and gritty and all about evil spirits possessing people. And he's writing Flash, the biggest character of hope in DC Comics, aside from maybe Superman, but one of the biggest characters of hope in the DC Comics universe. That's weird, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like this guy has tried writing anything like this before and failed. So maybe he actually really does want to write this. Maybe he's just a huge Flash fan and he's like, trust me, I know that I write that stuff, but I got some great stories that fit the Flash. So maybe he's gonna be great on it, but it's like, I don't really have anything to draw on that shows that you actually would be good on this. I don't have anything drawn that show you'd be bad at. I know for a fact you're a talented writer, it's just, yeah, this is a really weird pick for this book. So, I don't know. Let's talk about what the book is actually going to be about. He says that there's some kind of storm brewing that actually gives people Flash powers. They actually are turning a bunch of people into speedsters, which is awesome because it means that we finally get Wally West. And listen, I know that a lot of people out there, especially on the internet, are really upset because they made Wally West black in the New 52. I don't care. I am a big fan of Wally West. I absolutely love that character. He was my Flash when I was growing up, and I'm a little bit miffed that he is not the Flash anymore. I'm a little bit miffed that he's a kid again. I'm a little bit miffed that he does not have kids of his own and that he is not married to Iris. I do not care whether he's white or not. I don't, because there is nothing to the character of Wally West that says you have to be white. That character could be any race. So if they want to make him black in order to provide more representation in their comics, alright, I'm down with it. Fine, I'm totally cool with that. Go ahead and do it. I did have a problem though with the fact that when they first introduced him, they made him a total jerk who was going around breaking the law. Like, God, DC, sometimes I don't think you get it. Sometimes I don't. Like, oh God. Why would you do that to Wally? Why would you make him a jerk? It goes back to what I was saying about how the New 52 just all hope was lost. It was just an entire universe where it was like, no, this has to be gritty and realistic. It's like, that just because he's a kid, he's now a criminal? What? That's not realistic. Oh my God. But, here's the thing. I kind of stopped reading The Flash as soon as they introduced him and he was a criminal, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This is ridiculous. But I know some people who stuck with the book and went, no, he's actually totally turned around. He is now like bright and hopeful and cheerful, so I was like, okay. And I saw him in that Kid Flash costume. He is now going to be Kid Flash in this new universe. Which, first off, the Kid Flash costume, I'm stunned that it's the Kid Flash costume. I said this about the New 52, that I had a massive problem with the fact that you let Jim Lee, a guy whose sense of style stopped firmly in the 90s, with no, everything must be metallic, there must be shoulder pads, everybody must have a ton of lines on their costume, so that you let that guy design your entire universe, and you took some of the most iconic superhero costumes out there and made them so complicated that nobody could just draw them from memory. You would need a reference to remember all those lines. And the Kid Flash costume, it's the Kid Flash costume. Like 100%. Oh my God. I'm loving that. But also, look at that picture that they gave us of Wally as a new Kid Flash. That kid does look fun. That kid does look upbeat and hopeful and happy. It's like, okay, fine. If you're going with that, awesome. I still am going to miss Wally as an adult and married to Iris. But as long as you capture the spirit of Wally, bring him on. I am fully prepared for him. Next up is Green Arrow, which is being written by Ben Percy, who is the current writer on Green Arrow. And I stopped reading Green Arrow after Jeff Lemire left, so I don't actually know anything about the Ben Percy run. In fact, he hasn't really written anything other than this Green Arrow. But I will say, a lot of the people who do read Green Arrow say it's finally on the upswing again. It's finally starting to get good again. So, okay. If it's getting good again, I'll take your word on it. Like I said, I have not read it, so I cannot vouch for this, but people have told me it's getting good again, so fingers crossed. But I will say this, he does look older, which, I'm sorry, Green Arrow needs to be an older character. I know you guys love the Arrow TV show. He needs to be an older guy. And he looks older, and he's got the goatee back, which looks great, and the first storyline is him teaming up with Black Canary. Thank God. Because they were one of the best couples in comic book history, and it just doesn't feel like the DC Comics universe if they're not together. It's kind of like Lois Lane and Superman not being together. Just feels odd to not have the two of them together. And I know some people are going to say, it's like, oh, but don't you want them to try new things? It's like, yeah, with new characters, but when you find that perfect match for this character, and they have so much of their own personalities defined by their interactions with each other, and it gets to that point in which their relationship with each other kind of also adds to who they are, yeah, they need to be together. Next up, Green Lanterns, written by Sam Humphries. Now, okay, a lot to discuss with this one. First off, Sam Humphries, I'm totally down with that. Sam Humphries right now is writing Weird World over at Marvel. Weird World, again, one of my favorite books out there. He is nailing all that weird craziness that goes on in Weird World, but at the same time, he's creating amazing characters in that book. It has some of the most three-dimensional characters I've seen in any of the books out there. I love Weird World, so if that guy, who is also the writer of Star-Lord, is going to take two Green Lanterns and create great, big, crazy outer space adventures for them, I'm down with that. That guy actually sounds like a perfect fit for that. So yeah, awesome, cool. But I also want to talk about this because the Green Lanterns in question, the ones who are going to be the stars of this, I'll admit, I did not guess this. I did not think it was going to be these two, and I'm so glad that it is. At the end of Jeff Johns' epic run on Green Lantern, he painted out the future for every single one of the Green Lanterns in that book. And when he talked about Simon Baz, the brand new Green Lantern who he created, he said that he was going to go on to train Jessica Cruz, the very first female Green Lantern. And we've seen Jessica Cruz pop up in Justice League, but as Power Ring. She is actually possessed by the evil Earth 3 version of the Green Lantern ring. And she has been trying to be a hero with it, and she's been trying to fight back against it, and I've actually come to really enjoy her as a character. But when they showed that she was going to be free of the Power Ring curse, and she was going to be a Green Lantern herself, and it was going to be her teaming up with Simon Baz, and the two of them were going to be the stars of this book, oh my gosh, I was so excited for this. That sounds like an amazing book. Brand new characters, brand new legacy characters for the Green Lantern book. Oh, it's a fantastic place to take this series. I'm really excited for this book. Although I will say, if I could make one suggestion to the people at DC Comics, stop drawing Simon Baz constantly holding his gun out. I actually kind of like the fact that Simon Baz carries a gun because he actually does have a really good reason for it. There was this great moment when that character was introduced in which right after he got the ring, the juice ran out of it and he was left defenseless as a bunch of monsters was attacking, and then he was talking to another Green Lantern and he says, so what do you do when the power battery runs out? He's like, don't let the power battery run out. That's the answer. It's like, you guys are really arrogant. I'm going to try and bring some protection with me in case the ring does run out. I was like, that's actually kind of smart. And then later on in that same storyline, he actually proved why you should have some kind of a weapon on you, even if you have the lantern ring. And I was like, okay, I can buy it. I'm actually okay with him carrying that. I do have a problem though with the fact that literally every single time that they put him in a promo image, he's holding the gun out. I mean, you created this character so that little kids could have a brand new hero to look up to. I would far rather they look up to a guy holding out the Green Lantern ring than holding out the gun. That's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Please don't get into a big argument about this one in the comments down below. Let's just move on to the next book. Next up is Titans. Now, I've already talked about one of my biggest problems with the New 52 is that DC Comics have this great long history, and the New 52 came in and went, everything happened within 5 years. And one of the big things that happened is that they came in and they said that this Teen Titans group, the Teen Titans were created for the New 52, that was the very first Teen Titans. There was never a Teen Titans before that, not ever. And I was like, are you joking with me? One of the most iconic teams in your roster never happened. One of the most famous books at your disposal, and you just threw it away. The whole Dick Grayson, Starfire, Raven, Cyborg, Beast Boy, that whole team never happened. And they have come to the realization, oh yeah, that was a massive screw up on our part. But they have put out their book called Titans Hunt, in which it says that Dick Grayson, Donna Troy, Roy Harper, and several other of the most famous Teen Titans characters, they all actually were Teen Titans. And that they all came together and they went, oh yeah, now I remember, we were best friends. We had tons of fun, went on great adventures. We were the Teen Titans, but some evil demon spirit out there forced us to forget it. And when they say that, they might as well just turn towards the camera and just slowly stare down at Dan DiDio's names in the credit. Anywho, maybe I'm reading too much into that. But anyway, this new Titans book is going to be the story of all of them coming together after they have remembered that they used to be best friends. And I would be way more excited for this book, except that, again, it's being written by Dan Abnett, and I just said that I'm going to give Dan Abnett some room over on Aquaman. I'm going to step back, see what he does with that character. But he's the guy who's been writing the Titan Hunt book. I think that book is just okay. I think it's fine. It's not really bad, but it's okay. It's okay. And I don't want my Teen Titans to be okay. I want that book to be great. So hopefully he's going to do something really cool with them after they form the team, but yeah, I kind of would have preferred someone else. And lastly, for the month of June is Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is a character who has had two writers work on her in the New 52. One was Brian Azzarello, who did a great run on her, but made her a very different character. The story was great, it was amazing. But if you were an old school fan of Wonder Woman, I fully understand you being pissed off at that run. It came in here and said that she was made out of clay. That didn't happen. She was now a child of Zeus, and she's now the god of war, and it made all the gods more of like a mob family. It was a lot darker and grittier, and had a couple of horror elements thrown in there. It's like, yeah, it's not the stuff I think of when I think of Wonder Woman. It was really good, but I can fully understand someone coming in here and going, yeah, that's not the Wonder Woman I want to read. I understand that. And then the other writer to work on her was Meredith Finch, who has not been good. And I'm gonna be totally honest with you, I don't even know why they put Meredith Finch on this book. Before writing this, I swear to you, I don't know why more people did not freak out over this, but before writing Wonder Woman, Meredith Finch had only written 2 books. I don't mean 2 series. No, 2 issues, and one of them was a pervy version of The Wizard of Oz, and the other one was a swimsuit issue for the Zenescope guys, who are the guys who just make pervy fairy tale books. I swear to you, those are literally the only 2 things she ever wrote, and they went, Wonder Woman, our #1 most iconic female character. Give that to her. But the person who is going to be writing her now is Greg Rucka, and Greg Rucka is returning to this character after he gave her what many people have called probably her best run. He has written some of the best Wonder Woman stories. He's returning to this character, and when you just look at the cover of that book, I looked at that and went, that's Wonder Woman. It's bright. It's colorful. There's no like dark and gritty elements to it. She looks respectable. She looks tough. She looks like a strong, empowering character. The world behind her looks very bright and mythical and fantastic. It looks like Wonder Woman. It really does. I find what he's planning to do with the character a little bit odd because he's actually going to have every issue alternate between 2 stories. One is going to be a current day story, then the next issue will be an origin, like year 1 style story, and it's going to rotate back and forth between that. That's kind of odd to me. I don't know. It might work. It might be fantastic. It might be an excellent idea, and he might have them both lead up towards one big thing. Just seems kind of weird. I'm gonna have to get used to that. But it is shipping twice a month, so maybe that'll actually work out. If you don't like the stories taking place in the past, hey, you're still getting 1 Wonder Woman book a month. So, hey, alright, cool. Alright, everybody, I know that I said that I was going to do both June and July on this episode. I ranted for so long that I'm just going to make this a 3-parter. I know, I'm very sorry everybody, but yes, I will be covering July next week. So make sure that you come back, hit that subscribe if you want to see me talking all about the books that are coming out in July. Also, if you want to see me talking about the early news about Rebirth and my predictions for it, but also the way that I feel about that mission statement that got me so excited and all the titles that they have announced already, go ahead and click on that video right there. Also, a lot of books that I mentioned today, I actually brought up in my top 100 comics of 2015 list, so if you want to see me talk about 100 comics all in one sitting, go ahead and click on it there. It was an exhausting experience, but thank you everybody for watching today's episode, and like I said, if you want to hear me talk about all the other DC books that are coming out, including later reviewing all the books after they have come out, just like I did with those Marvel books in the all new, all different Marvel relaunch, then make sure you click that subscribe, and also make sure that you share this video all around the web. It is the best way to help out this channel. You guys have been doing that a lot lately, and I really appreciate it, so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and come back next time.